Good morning, I'm Mitch Nolan, Interim City Engineer, and I'm here today to talk about city street paving. Now you might be saying, oh great, here we go with another boring engineering speech about some sort of infrastructure project. Time to take a nap. And I would say I would agree. Usually engineers can be quite geeky and boring, but I'm hopeful that I will keep your attention today. I promise we won't be talking about super paved specifications, performance grade binders, or emulsions and all that kind of fun stuff. So don't go to sleep yet. You can do that during Chief Ward's speech. So anyhow, everyone knows that many of our streets and alleys are in desperate need of repair and maintenance, and I hope to communicate 3 items today. How are streets funded? Secondly, local street selection process. And last, looking ahead to 2016 and beyond. So first of all, how are streets funded? And I'm sure that many citizens believe all streets are created equal. It is true that all publicly dedicated streets and right-of-ways within the city of Lancaster are under the city's domain. However, the funding for each street can be very different depending on which street is chosen and which section of street we are actually talking about. I'm going to address 2 main funding sources that we use to pave our city streets. The first source is the Surface Transportation Program, or STP. STP is a federally aided program in which we are allocated approximately $500,000 each fiscal year. The STP streets are a pre-selected set of streets from the Federal Highway Administration and ODOT. The city can utilize our STP allocation only for those predefined streets. These predefined streets are funded with a federal amount and a local amount. Now many times I get questions like, why didn't we do this street instead of that street? And many times the question can be answered because it's a federal aid street that is funded through our city STP program. For example, why did East Fair Avenue get chip sealed recently? East Fair Avenue is an STP street which receives 95-5 funding split, and the city currently does not have federal funds available to pay for an adequate fix on that street right now. Therefore, the city is attempting to band-aid that STP street until federal funds are available to pay for an adequate fix. And when we do eventually fix it, the city only pays 5% of the cost. The next item I'd like to talk to you about is our local street selection process. There are several components that are evaluated when selecting streets for paving. The primary components that are evaluated are average daily traffic, pavement condition rating, and coordination with other city projects that may be going on throughout a given year. We ask questions like, what's underneath the street? Is it brick, is it stone, or is it simply dirt? These variables may give indications of how quickly the street may deteriorate in the future, or how much will it cost to fix this street correctly? Or is there a deeper rooted problem below the surface instead of just a mill and fill operation? And then lastly, I'd like to talk about looking ahead into 2016 and beyond. Our 2016 street paving projects are going to be Arlington Avenue, Forest Rose Avenue, Hillcrest Drive, West Chestnut Street, and Wheeling Street. These will be our local street paving projects for 2016. The North Ewing Street rehabilitation, which is going to be in front of the Fairfield Medical Center, is funded through our STP dollars and local dollars, and that will be happening in 2017. And then another 2017 project that is slated is our South Ewing Street rehabilitation. And this is funded through Ohio Public Works Commission and our local dollars. And then lastly, we have our Cedar Hill Road, which is State Route 188 on the west side of town, and it's going to be funded through our urban paving policy, STP dollars, and our local dollars, and that will occur in 2018. So as a closing remark, I just want to let everyone know that orange barrel season is upon us. I realize that construction causes delays, it's messy, and it's inconvenient. The City of Lancaster asks for your patience and understanding. And remember, orange barrels mean progress for Lancaster. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning.
Since the last time I was invited to speak at the State of the City, the Lancaster Fire Department has received grants, adopted new technologies that have improved our services to our citizens, and implemented processes and best practices that made an already great fire department even better. First, in 2015, our department applied for and received a grant for $40,000 from the Bureau of Workers' Compensation Safety Grant Program. We purchased 3 Furno Power Lift Cots, one for each frontline medic unit. The total cost was $115,000 or $38,000 apiece. By applying our grant money, the cost to us was $75,000 from our fire impact account. This was a zero impact on the general fund. This grant will reduce back injuries and other lifting related injuries for years to come. The cot can lift a patient that weighs up to 750 pounds and it's operated by one person. Next, the City Administration and City Council have committed to replacing a medic unit about every 2 years as part of our apparatus replacement schedule. We have 4 medic units. 3 are frontline medic units, the 4th is a backup and is always replaced as it is the oldest. Our next medic unit is scheduled for completion within the next few weeks. As far as fire engines, we are well positioned for the future. We have a 2012 fire engine and a 2013. I anticipate sometime between 2018 and 2020 approaching city leaders for discussion on a new engine. The goal being, as the frontline useful life is reached, we will not need to replace all of them at once. A useful life of a fire engine is 15 years frontline and 10 years in reserve. Our oldest reserve truck now is 26 years old. And now, Lieutenant Watts, our Public Information Officer, will review with you some of the new technologies we have implemented since 2013.
Okay, thank you, Chief Ward. As the Chief noted, we have since 2013 used some new technology in the fire service to try to respond to emergencies quicker and a safer fashion. One of the technologies he spoke of is LiveCAD. LiveCAD is an actual website that we have access to that gives us all the runs currently that are in the city as well as around the county for mutual aid departments. Gives us the address and location, also the nature of the call. In addition to having the computers, we also in the engine houses have monitors placed in different spots so we can see those as we go to the truck. Just gives us a little better information about where the location is and what the nature of the call is. From this software, we can click on the address and it takes us to what they call mech mapping. It's a mapping program that is built into our computers that allows us to enter the address and find the actual location of the incident. It helps us find cross streets, narrow down the location to the actual lot number, and gives us hydrant locations as well, which is very important information to respond to emergencies. In addition to the location with mech mapping, we can also use target maps, which is our pre-plan information. In a non-emergency setting, we go out to these high hazard places and find out where the mechanicals are, the floor layout. So in a emergency situation, we don't have to gather all that information. It's already there for us. It's a great way to use technology to respond to the community's emergencies as they come.
Next, I would like to talk with you about a few things that you may not know we do. First is underground storage tanks. Any gasoline tank or diesel tank that comes into the city requires a Lancaster Fire Department permit plus inspection by the Lancaster Fire Department. We're also in charge of underground storage tank removals. Mobile food vendors is another aspect we look at. Again, we check for fire hazards involving cooking with grease and the use of propane. It doesn't sound like much, but if you watch this video of a food truck blowing up, you realize the importance. Imagine this at our county fair. Finally, fireworks and displays require a Lancaster Fire Department approval before such events can occur. We require a permit and on-site inspection to ensure proper safety distances, and we must be in attendance while the fireworks are happening. And now I'd like a quick review of our metrics. Run volumes. The first slide is our fire runs. In 2006, we had 1,586. In 2015, we had 1,767. EMS runs are our greatest request. In 2006, we had 5,508 EMS runs. In 2015, we had 7,259 EMS runs. Average response time is 4 minutes and 54 seconds for fire, and that's from time en route to time of arrival. Our average medic response time is 5 minutes and 28 seconds. Anytime you can have an engine or a medic on scene within 6 minutes, you're doing very well. And now, looking to the future, I believe there is merit in looking toward a fire station somewhere in the Dominion home area. The station would have a large assembly/training room with media, sound, and lighting for the educational needs of our department, and very possibly the city as a whole. It could also serve as a police substation. Also, a statistic worth mentioning is our existing station. Engine House 1 behind St. Mary's is 118 years old. Engine House 2 is 61, and Engine House 3 on East Main Street is 50. That brings the average age of our engine houses to 76 years. Presently, we are staffed with 70 uniformed firefighters. I've been asked many times since the recession, how many firefighters does it take to do our job safely and efficiently? And I've always said between 79 and 82. In 2015, we were pleased to receive the American Heart Association's STEMI Award. This award is given to fire departments who have outstanding response times and cardiac care. We were one of only 3 fire departments in the state of Ohio to receive this award. We hope you found this information useful, and we look forward to 2016 and beyond as your fire department.
Good morning. I want to thank Mayor Kuhn, the administration here at the city, for allowing me to speak with you today. I wanted to take a few minutes to address and recap 2015 at the Lancaster Police Department and what 2016 will bring. First, I thought I would discuss our personnel and the men and women of the Lancaster Police Department. They are our #1 asset. Give you a little overview of our staffing and our structure and some of the major changes that took place in 2015. We currently have 68 sworn police officers. We are budgeted for 69, so we're nearly at full staff. I think it's important to discuss not only our sworn officers, but we have 12 communication technicians. They are the people who work in our 911 center answering emergency calls, and essentially all calls for police, fire, and EMS service in Lancaster go through that room. We also have 4 civilian staff members. They're the clerks, the people who answer the phone here, assist you at the front window at LPD, essentially keep things moving, helping us to do our job. In addition to the civilian staff that work in the clerical role, we have 2 part-time building maintenance people. They're invaluable. They keep the building going. In addition, they work on our fleet, keeping our fleet going. Patrol cars, unmarked cars, paddy wagon, all that equipment. As you may imagine, it's a constant need for maintenance. With that said, I mentioned earlier the retirements and changes, transfers. Last year, Chief Dave Bailey retired after 30-plus years of service with the Lancaster Police Department. Captain Dan Patton retired, also nearly 30 years of experience. Officer Jerry Darfus, Clerk Debbie Blodgett, and Clerk Betty Hansen. As a result of that, all those retirements, it was time for some promotions here at LPD. In April of 2015, I was appointed acting chief. A process was put in place to select a permanent chief. After an assessment center process, a promotional testing process, we had several people promoted to permanent positions, including myself. And on July 27, 2015, I was appointed permanent chief, promoted to that position. Adam Pilar was appointed as deputy chief. Captain Scott Cox was promoted. Captain Greg Seaschultz promoted. Lieutenant Will Tully, Lieutenant Randy Greenwalt, Sergeant Brian Lowe, and Sergeant Nick Snyder were all promoted on July 27th. In 2015, we replaced 3 vehicles, and so far in 2016, we've placed an order for 4 vehicles. We try to replace 3 to 4 vehicles every year with the support of the administration and council. Moving on to some highlights of 2015. The department applies for and receives grants from various sources. One of the grants we receive is a grant from the Ohio Drug Prevention Fund. This is a grant that funds our DARE program, allows us to put DARE officers in the school, and saves city taxpayers money. Some of the other occurrences in 2015 of note, Sergeant Mike Peters was selected by the Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce to receive the Brett Markwood Award. That award is awarded annually to a person in public safety. There's strict criteria for submission for a nominee, and we're proud to say Sergeant Peters was selected. In addition to that, we were able to send several people to training in 2015. Lieutenant Will Tully completed Certified Law Enforcement Executive training. That is a certification. It is a significant accomplishment for him. Very proud to say he's the first graduate from LPD into that program. It does come with initials at the end of your name. Then you can claim that you're certified as a law enforcement executive. Again, one of the few. Some overview of what happened at the police department as far as activity. Every year, this department averages about 61,000 calls for police, fire, and EMS service through our 911 center. Of that number, approximately 54,000 calls are for police service. As you can tell, that's a significant number of calls for police service. Last year, we saw an increase in several areas of concern. Gun-related calls were 108 in 2014. They were up to 141 in 2015. Knife-related calls were up from 29 in 2014 to 39 in 2015. And domestic violence calls saw a significant increase also. In 2014, LPD was one of the first departments in Central Ohio to equip our patrol officers with body-worn video cameras. Over the last couple of years, our officers have used those cameras during their interactions with the public, providing good documentation, not only for the interaction with the public, but for prosecution of criminal cases and presenting evidence at trial. It's been a real success. All of our marked patrol officers, driving marked patrol cars, I should say, are wearing those cameras on their uniform, and it documents our interactions. Those things can be used for resolving complaints, additional training, and again, for enhancing criminal prosecution at a later date. So we believe the body-worn cameras program has been a huge success here at LPD. Lastly, one of the programs that was initiated this year is active shooter training at the schools here in Lancaster. The state has mandated training from kindergarten through 12th grade to teach our students, staff at Lancaster City Schools, and all schools in Ohio, but specifically for us, Lancaster City Schools, and how to respond to active shooter situations. And as you'd imagine, the message you teach to a kindergartner is quite different than what you would teach to a senior at high school. So we craft our lesson should something terrible like that happen in our community. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone. Thank Mayor Kuhn for allowing me to speak today. Hopefully, this will give you an idea of what the police department here in Lancaster is doing and what we plan to do in the future.
Good morning. I'm Mike Pettit. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Lancaster. I'm here this morning with you to talk about the state of economic development in the city and where we're planning to go in 2016 and beyond. The Lancaster economic development is just me for the most part, and it's a very busy world. Our leads come into us, and we have many partners. We have Columbus 2020, Jobs Ohio, and we have our own leads that we create through the Fairfield 33 Development Alliance. These leads turn into requests for information, which is a very long process and a lot of data that is driven. Hopefully from those leads and from that request for information, then we will get site visits, and we've had many. We've had countries come here from China, Austria, Germany, Japan, and many other countries, Canada, and those folks have left with a very good impression upon us. Most recently, we're in contention for Project Rayburn. It's a $150 million investment project. We're one of three, and there has been no decision made. We have a project called Hamburger that is another large investment project. It's about a $50 million investment. It's a French company, and they've been here twice, and we are the #1 Ohio site being considered for that project, and that project again is still no decision is made at this time. Most recently, just this month, we are working on a large manufacturer that is within the region that is looking to expand, and we're going through the processes of state grants, local incentives, the things that we do to help our industry and create opportunities for jobs. Lancaster has done a great job of providing infrastructure for industry. We have heavy utilities that can serve the manufacturing, and that's our core target. The problem that we have is that we do not have very many quality buildings in our city to attract this industry. Industry takes a long time to decide if they're coming or not, but once they come, they're ready to go. And without any buildings, we're missing out on a lot of potential projects for our city. Therefore, the Lancaster Port Authority, with support of Lancaster City Council and certainly City Administration, is building a 50,000 square foot spec building. Speculative means that it's there's nobody that's currently leasing it or buying it. It's straight up being built for our opportunities to attract growth and to attract jobs for our community. The spec building is 28 feet high. It sits in the Rock Mill Industrial Park. So with that, we hope that we'll be very successful. The building, you'll see some pictures of it here behind me, and it's a great precast building, very state-of-the-art. Lighting will come on when you're in a certain bay and turn off, but a very high-quality industrial building that will be right at the interchange of US 33 and State Route 188 and immediate access onto the 4-line highway. Besides the spec building, one of the strategic issues for 2016 will be land planning. The Rock Mill Industrial Park has about 175 acres, but the largest contiguous piece that we can locate in industry is about 42 acres. That limits our ability to attract large industry, large manufacturers that could need 100 to 250 acres. We are in the process, in the early stages of creating an additional 100-acre parcel for industrial. And then beyond that, we're looking at a large super site that could be 250 acres or more. This will tremendously benefit us not only as we respond to industry leads, but for long-term economic impact for our community and providing jobs. Well, Lancaster economic development and economic development as a whole is a team approach. It is not just Mike Pettit. It is every single community member, every single city worker that has to be in a mode of creating jobs and creating that culture. We thank you very much for your investment in Lancaster. We want you to contact us if you have a supplier or you know of an entity that is growing. We will follow up on them and try to get them to locate here. Thank you very much.